So paint's on, masking tape is off. Those vents look very dark, but I've had my son up there cleaning them. The lights went in beautifully. I had a set of fan blades painted, ready to go on. Wrong fan blades, but I can reach them from the smaller scaffold. So we're going to pull this scaffold down, and it's been very helpful. Cost me about $200, but those ingredients can all be used again. And I cut the timbers to the length that means I can use them to make a bed in the future. So I sped this footage up by 100 times. These screws are a bit hard to get out, snapped a few off, but all this timber should be reusable. Alright, next day, next job. So I had to go around every edge with a grinder, so I hired one. It's got a shroud on it, proper industrial vacuum cleaner, and this took a whole day to do every wall edge in the whole house. Big job, but it had to be done, so we got it done. Hired the right gear. That was a bit over $100 for the grinder and the proper industrial vacuum cleaner. Alright, here's my boy Hikalu. He's on the technology here. This cost about just over $1,000 to hire this for the weekend. We got it delivered about lunchtime on Friday, so we just went for it. We did some long hours. Lucky the neighbours were both having parties because we went till about 10 o'clock at night. And we did a pretty big one on the Saturday. And then we were pretty much finished by Sunday, so we just did a final polishing on Sunday, and it came up really good. We did actually have too many grinding plates on when we did some of the rooms, and that meant we didn't have enough ground bearing pressure on this, so it did struggle to take the hard surface off the concrete. One of the rooms had obviously been concreted on a different day, and the concrete was really chalky. So one room we just ploughed through it, other rooms we had to just keep going over it. It just took forever to just get that surface off to expose the aggregate. But it was probably at least 20 hours of hard work and about $1,000 to hire the machines. We didn't take any chances with our ears or with our lungs, even though when you use the right machine, you hook it up properly, there's not much dust escapes from it. But we had to stop maybe every 20 minutes to just do the bags. Now, as you can see here, we're just turning everything off, giving the vacuum a pump, and then you just release it, and that drops all the concrete dust into this bag. Quite a bit comes out. So we had about 30 of these bags pretty full by the end of the job. And I was going to take them down to the tip, but then we needed to make some concrete. So I was able to incorporate all of this dust in with the concrete. It saved us probably a lot of bags of pre-mixed concrete. And we got a lot of concrete done with that. And very good to recycle something that otherwise would have gone to waste. So here he is getting into the next line. You overlap a little bit. It's good to have a second person there to just get you online, get you straight. Also, the second person is good just to move the hose out of the way. It's a real struggle. You attack each room from two sides because the machine's quite long and it's quite an awkward machine. You can fold the handle up if you're in a really tight spot, like a really short corridor. And Hikalu did sort of get stuck on the wall over here and scrape the wall, but we did otherwise manage to escape that. The machine has a rubber shroud on it, which does sort of protect the walls when you go too close. Doesn't protect the windows though if you go too close and get caught up on the window aluminium. Here I'm just sprinkling some water on a section just so we can see how well we've exposed the aggregate. This room was a bit of a disappointment, so we removed some of the plates, the grinding plates, and we went over it again and we got it looking okay. I was reasonably happy with the results, but I didn't want to hire the machine for another day, so we got what we got, and that was as good as we got. This here is Hikalu. He's just come and attacking the other half of this room from the opposite direction. I'm just spreading some water on here so we can see what kind of finish we're going to end up with when we seal it. Also, I bought myself a 1-ton come-along so I could lift the machine down this stair from the roof rafter there, but the machine had no point to hook the come-along onto or to sling it up to. So we ended up building a ramp out of concrete pavers just to get it down that one stair. It's very important as you go along with the machine to keep changing the spin direction on it. So you're going from clockwise for a bit, anti-clockwise, and you just keep rotating it like that so you don't end up with any gouges or uneven wear on your plates. Alright, so we got the sunken lounge room fully finished, so we could just build the ramp once, get it in, pack the ramp up, finish the whole room right off, build the ramp second time, get it out. Then we continued on with our second polish on all the upper level, which is the majority of the house. Here I am in the hallway, so I've got the handle folded in, and there's a lot of obstacles in here. Kalu's going in there to sort out the hoses, get running out of hose. It's also good to keep sweeping up the dust as you go along so you don't make a mess, and you're not grinding the dust back into the concrete. Alright, this room's the main master bedroom. The surface here was really chalky, so I suspect the day the original concrete was poured that they had rain and it really affected the quality of the surface, which made our job of polishing the surface really easy. The finish in here was so consistent. The surface came off just with a couple of passes and it polished up really well. The only part that didn't look good was the part where one of the concreters had dropped their cigarette butt into the concrete, so I had to patch that when the butt of that cigarette came out. Because this room was so chalky, it just dusted up so much, so we really got stuck into this with the vacuum cleaner first opportunity. We didn't want that dust getting around the house, so we cleaned as we went. So here we are, just checking this room, how it came up. The gentleman from the hire shop goes, "Gee, you really achieved that hit and miss look." And we really did in this room. Some bits we were unable to expose the aggregate. I think with the way we had our plates set up was a bit wunyan. So next time I do it, I'll have less plates on. But as you can see, when you tip water on it and smooth it out, you can see some bits of aggregate are really nicely exposed, others are not. Some bits the concrete was just really hard. It didn't matter how many times you went over it, it just didn't want to move. Can see from that water there's still a little bit of dust in the water, so we just kept cleaning that, went over it a few times before we put the seal on. Now I would have preferred a more even exposure of the aggregate, but it was good enough for a first timer. Alright, here we are sealing it up. We just went around the edges, cut in, and then it was straight on the brush, straight on the roller, and it was really quick, this process actually. This is one of the most satisfying parts of the job. You just rolled it on real quick, and you could see straight away how good it looked. Now this was the dining room over to the right side here. We had a bit of trouble where along this edge it didn't expose properly, but I thought it looked good enough. Gives a bit of a hit and miss finish. You don't want things to look too perfect. If you wanted things too perfect, you may as well get the polished concrete lino. I didn't want that look. So as you can see, as I paint into this corner, some bits are really nicely exposed, others aren't. But that sealer was only $250 for a massive tin of it, and that was more than enough to do the whole property. And as with any painting, don't paint yourself into a corner, paint yourself out the door. And that's what we did. Right out the back door was the only way to go. And as you can see in this room, it gave a really interesting pattern. You could see where the tile glue had affected the concrete, and it left the pattern of the original tiles in the concrete when we stripped it back. And although not ideal, I think it's a good bit of patina. Looks good.